Okay, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. It's David Schmidt, and welcome to our product training webinar. I hope that you're all doing well. LifeWave is having phenomenal growth, and it couldn't be better timed as we are now celebrating this year our 15-year anniversary. Well, tonight we are going to be talking about how to improve the health of your brain. And of course, this is something that is on the minds, no pun intended, of people as they age for a number of reasons. First, in a practical sense, it is very well known that as people age, the health of the brain will decline. There's some very good reasons for this. And as the health of the brain declines, memory and the ability to process information also decline with it. So, quote unquote, normal age-related decline in cognitive function is something that most people are concerned about, but many people don't know what to do about it. Of course, at the extreme end, there is the concern of developing Alzheimer's disease, which is, in some regard, perhaps worse than heart disease or cancer. In the sense that with heart disease, a person could be dead from a heart attack or stroke. Cancer, of course, is a terrible disease and it lingers on. But Alzheimer's disease is especially terrible because your body declines gradually and you lose who you are. You lose all your sense of identity. So it's a terrible disease. And are we inclined to think that there is nothing we can do about it? Well, in fact, just recently a study came out indicating that compounds that are in common green tea can reverse the symptoms of early stage Alzheimer's disease. So there's good reason to believe that there are therapies and nutritional protocols that people can use today to reverse things like Alzheimer's disease. But of course, we're not making any medical claims about our product. What we're looking at is how to protect yourself and even reverse decline in what would be normal age-related function of the brain. So we're going to talk about that this evening. First, just as a base, we're not making any medical claims. And I'd also say that for optimum health, including the health of your brain, that you should start with a foundation of having a good diet, and that's all relative to different people, of course, exercising regularly, drinking water, and getting adequate amounts of sleep. So this could be a subject that we talk about for several hours as we take a deep dive into each of those. But let's just say, for example, that you have a diet that is rich in omega-3 fatty acids. You're exercising, doing resistance training, you're drinking lots of water, and you're getting at least 7 hours of sleep. What else can we do to improve the health of the brain? So let's talk about that relative to LifeWave patches. First thing is, over the years, there have been several patches that we have studied that have produced very interesting effects when it comes to changes in the health and function of the brain. The one that we're going to be focusing in on this evening is Carnosine. But other patches that we have produced noticeable beneficial effects in the function of the brain. Some of these patches would include X39, Alavita, and energy patches. Other products like glutathione have an indirect benefit on the health and protection of the brain. But we're going to focus on Carnosine this evening, but just bear in mind that there are other options. So let's go ahead and get started. Now, first thing is I began to investigate the beneficial effects of Carnosine back in 2005 and 2006 because there were longevity effects that were coming up in animal studies with the administration of Carnosine. And today we know that those longevity effects are attributed to the ability of Carnosine as an antioxidant to protect the telomeres from shortening. So in mammals, carnosine can potentially extend life by 30 to 40%. Of course, we don't know how that's exactly going to play out in human beings yet, but those effects have indeed shown up in mice and rats. Now, one thing that we would want to look at in a product is what are the short-term and the long-term benefits. It would be great if we get the long-term benefit of life extension, but we want to have benefits today as well. So carnosine is a miracle nutrient, and it is something that everyone should keep elevated throughout their entire life. And there's good reasons to be saying this. First thing is, when we started getting involved in carnosine testing, one of the things that we looked at was the ability of carnosine to improve athletic performance. And so we performed a clinical study. It's posted on our website. It was performed by Dr. Lisa Tully, who's a pharmacologist. And we did in fact show that use of the carnosine patch had very significant improvements in strength, stamina, and flexibility, and other measures of athletic performance. So anyone that's an athlete or simply wants to protect their muscle strength and stamina as they age should be interested in keeping their carnosine levels elevated. The disorder is called sarcopenia, by the way, or it is the age-related loss of muscle tissue. And this, of course, is bad on a number of different levels, but we want to stay healthy and strong and vital as we age, so keep up those carnosine levels. Carnosine also has beneficial effects on the health of the heart. Carnosine is going to be stored in the heart, and as an antioxidant, it will protect the heart from damage. So let's say that people are under stress and they get elevated levels of an inflammatory chemical called homocysteine. It would put people at risk for a heart attack. So again, we're not making any medical claims, but the fact of the matter is that carnosine as an antioxidant is stored in the heart and can help to protect the heart from damage. But what about the benefits of carnosine as it pertains to cognitive function? Is there any scientific evidence that this occurs? Well, let's take a look at a study that we did back in 2011 with doctors Tom and Helen Budzinski. They were a married couple. And so this was done with 3 scientists that were interested in looking at is there a way that we could use the carnosine patch to improve cognitive function in people as they age. And if you want to go to the study, by the way, you simply go to the science section of the website, and then you scroll down and you can click on this icon over here, and it will link you into this study. By the way, Dr. Tom Budzinski, he passed away a few years ago. He was considered a expert in biofeedback and even wrote textbooks for college courses on biofeedback. So he was really exceptional, and we had him speak at a number of our events in the past. Really, really great guy. So he goes into some detail here about the carnosine patch and also the background of carnosine in general as a anti-aging nutrient. Now, of course, many of the beneficial effects of carnosine have been attributed to its role as an antioxidant. However, the beneficial metabolic effects go far beyond that. For example, carnosine is known to be, and I believe it still is, known to be the most powerful anti-glycation nutrient that's ever discovered. So glycation is a process, for example, that people would see show up in their skin and can be linked to and be attributed to early onset of wrinkling of the skin. Glycation effects occur throughout the entire body. And carnosine is shown to interfere with this process. Carnosine also has neuroprotective effects, meaning as an antioxidant, it can help to protect the nerves from damage. A well-known effect of carnosine is its ability to buffer acid in the body. So when carnosine is improving stamina, it is believed that the reason is because it helps prevent the formation of lactic acid in the muscle tissue. But let's go down here a little bit more, and we look at how this study was set up, since we're going to just focus on brain function. This was a study that involved 40 people that were over the age of 40. And as you would see, if you look through the data, there were very interesting effects in people over the age of 60. We had 20 people in the treatment group and 20 people in the placebo-controlled group. And the study design was to take measurements not only on memory, but very importantly, we wanted to look at did the ability of the individual to process information change? So we can measure with the microcog equipment the speed of processing, the accuracy of processing, and another importantly, reaction time. Like imagine, for example, that you had an athlete and or even, a normal person, so to speak, driving a car. The ability to have increased reaction time would be important in those endeavors. So when we're talking about cognitive function, it really envelops a lot of different subjects here. But these are things that were measured. Also, we use something called a biocom in this clinical study, looking for heart rate activity. And there was also a very interesting outcome for that. So anyway, you can read this at your leisure, but we're going to just scroll down to the past the data analysis, and we'll go into the discussion session. But basically, what the researchers concluded is that the carnosine patch produced statistically significant improvements in overall cognitive function. The hypothesis is that this was going to occur, and indeed that's what happened. And of course, this was given this was a blinded study. They did not know what the placebo group was. Neither did the people that received the placebo. And one of the things that the researchers noted is that they would like to do a larger study and look at some other attributes of the carnosine patch. They also found in this study that there was a beneficial effect on the heart. And of course, this made sense because carnosine as an antioxidant is stored in the heart. So we got a relaxation response in the sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous system, and as a result, improved heart rate. Now, what about in the general literature? Is there any work that's been done to take a look at the use of carnosine at improving cognitive function? And just happened to find the study that I thought you might be interested in, because it was just published in May of 2019, so just this past month. And one of the things that I wanted to bring to your attention is that carnosine has indeed been studied in human beings. Of course, we've studied the use of our patches in human beings, but this is important to note because it's something like 95%. I've heard numbers this high, that when you do a study in animals, about 95% of the time, the results do not carry over into human beings. So, for example, you could perform a study in an animal that shows that taking some type of supplement would cause cancer in that animal, but it never shows up in human beings. So you always have to scrutinize animal testing and look at what are the mechanisms of action here, and do they relate to human beings at all. But in this particular case, these researchers were interested in taking a look at the role of carnosine in brain-related disorders like Alzheimer's disease. And human studies, of course, suggest that carnosine is a promising therapeutic agent in treating brain disorders. Now, why would that be the case? Well, first of all, one of the mechanisms that we look at in the body is oxidative stress. And it's important to note that the brain, because of its fat content, is especially susceptible to degradation by oxidative stress. Now, human body has what's called the blood-brain barrier. So our bodies are wonderful in that there are protective mechanisms to prevent harmful chemicals at getting into the brain. There's actually a pool of vitamin C at the base of the brain that will limit the number of toxic compounds that can get into the brain. Even still, those mechanisms can fail. So carnosine is a small molecule. It's a dipeptide. It's composed of 2 amino acids. So carnosine can pass through the blood-brain barrier and enter into the brain. And as a result, carnosine has protective effects on the brain and also the neurological system. So this is an interesting study from that perspective. And if you wanted to read that, of course, you could. What I would recommend, though, is that, I'm going to put this into the chat window and send it out to all of you, for those of you that are interested. I would recommend that you take a look at this if you want to do a deeper dive into exactly how carnosine works. Now, this is a study that was published back in 2016, and it looks at the exact way that carnosine works. So first, of course, and most obvious, carnosine's an antioxidant, and oxidative stress will damage healthy tissue. So antioxidants like carnosine, glutathione, SOD can protect the body from oxidative stress. As many of you know, my main interest in research is in the subject of longevity, not only keeping people younger longer, but also reversing the aging process. And as a result, what we do in our labs is we look at species that have very, very long lifespans or are immortal. So planaria are immortal. Hydractinia are immortal. The only reason they die is if you cut them off from food, or if they get sick, or if they get killed by a predator. But all these species and others, what they have in common is their cells continue to divide, and you do not see any detrimental effects from inflammation or oxidative stress. So their systems have developed to have a perfect way to combat oxidative stress. So these are all things that scientists are trying to learn about these organisms. So for example, one of the things in longevity is to talk about lengthening telomeres. Well, that's all well and good, but if we don't manage oxidative stress and inflammation, lengthening telomeres may not help us too much. So in any case, this would be an interesting article if you really wanted to get into the detail about what's going on with carnosine. Here it would be over here. Also, this article gets into clinical use of carnosine, which is rather interesting. Again, we're not going to make any medical claims, but if you want to find out what doctors are thinking about in how they can use carnosine to treat various disorders, even things like allergies, you can find that here in this article. Okay, so let's go ahead and go over and take some questions now. And I'm going to start off with some of the written questions since I see that we have an awful lot here. I'll try to get to as many as I can. David, I know you travel a lot. Thank you for all of your hard work. What is your typical protocol for protecting yourself from EMFs and the upcoming 5G now that LifeWave no longer makes the matrix? Okay, so let's talk about that a little bit. First of all, one of the reasons why we discontinued matrix is because we realized that with the proliferation of artificial radiation, protecting your cell phone was going to have less and less of an impact on your overall health. So in other words, 5G, if you're not aware, is absolutely horrific. It should be stopped at all costs because it is going to dramatically increase the density of Wi-Fi signals. But not only that, they are hitting us with two different frequencies, one which is a lower microwave band at 2.4 gigahertz, which is the exact frequency of a microwave oven. Okay, that's what's out today. 5G will take that one step further, and it will get radiation up into the 40 gigahertz and 50 gigahertz band. One of the things that was discovered in Russia is that band of energy, which is also an upper end of microwave, is where DNA will resonate. So I think we can expect that this is going to have extraordinarily detrimental effects on our health. Already proven, okay? There is no debate. Despite what cell phone companies and the government will say, you look at the evidence, it's very clear. You put a cell phone near your head and it heats the brain. There is copious amounts of research to prove that. And now with 5G, we're going to be surrounded by it. So what do we do? Well, fortunately, and I want to be careful with the way that I say this, because anytime we make a claim, it has to be backed by a clinical study. So some of the things that I'm going to share with you now are not backed by clinical studies that we've done. Some of this is speculative. Some of this is based on evidence. Carnosine has been shown to protect the body from radiation. Now, we do not have a clinical study showing that the Carnosine patch will protect people from 5G. All we know is that there is clinical research on the use of carnosine as a nutrient to protect the body from radiation. This makes sense because of its antioxidant properties and also, fortunately, that it's stored in the brain. One thing we know about copper peptide will protect the body from radiation. As a matter of fact, and copper peptide, of course, is elevated by X39. The benefit here is that copper peptide is found in large amounts in the skin. So if you're using X39 and carnosine, you'd have the benefit of getting the protection from these two different antioxidants. Glutathione, another antioxidant that protects the DNA and the cells from radiation. So anyone that's using any of those LifeWave patches already has a degree of protection from harmful EMFs. I have been working, though, on a product specifically to address this issue of 5G. We don't have a release of it yet, but any radiation is effectively going to do damage to the electrons or the electrical charge that's in the cell. So if we can keep the cell charged like a battery and keep it charged with electrons, then EMFs will have absolutely no negative harmful effect. So that is my plan for addressing 5G. So fortunately, people that are using the patches now most likely have a degree of protection. Okay. So when I travel, I will travel with X39, carnosine, and energy patches. That's what I use on a plane. Okay. Do you still recommend only one X39 patch at a time? Yes. If you want to use more than one, you can. But so far, we don't have any clinical evidence to show that using two is better than using one. Information changes over time. Again, if you wanted to use 2, you could, but so far clinical studies are with 1. Do you have a water filter that you use? Yeah, as a matter of fact, I don't want to necessarily endorse a product where I haven't studied it, but I've got this water filter called Aqua Gear, which I just started looking at. I just received it in last week, so I can't say one thing or another about it, but the benefit to it is that it removes fluoride from the water. Fluoride and fluorine are toxins, as is chlorine, and we should be taking fluoride out of our water. That is my personal take on it. A dentist might disagree. But in any case, yeah, I would say any type of filter that would be military grade, that would be removing not just the normal contaminants, but also fluoride or fluorine would be beneficial. Okay, we have a doctor from Colorado reporting for duty. Great to have you here. Okay, you had mentioned that for those athletes, they will use the carnosine faster during sport activities. In that case, do you need more than 1 carnosine during intense sport activities? No. Most of the time, 1 of our patches is sufficient. There are cases when using more than 1 patch is necessary. I want to stay clear of medical claims. I'll just give you this anecdotally, bearing in mind that this is not a medical claim. I was in Mexico last year, and we were having a LifeWave event there in Playa del Carmen. And my first or second day there, I cut my foot. And I was going to be there for a week, and I did not want to end up in a hospital in Mexico. And of course, I don't carry antibiotics with me like most people. So I was pretty concerned about this, and it was getting pretty bad. So a protocol that we have used over the years is to surround the infection with 3 glutathione patches. So the infection was on my big toe. And so for, let's say, I can't really turn my hand around that well, but let's say I would have one of the patches was up over here, actually on the back side. Another patch was below it, and then another patch over to the side. But basically surrounded the infection. And within about 2 hours, the inflammation was down 80%, and the infection was gone after 24 hours. And I patched for 1 more day just to be certain. So I always carry carnosine patches with me, or glutathione patches rather, when I travel, just in case there's any type of infection or injury. I found them work really well. In the case of carnosine, for those professional athletes or Olympic or high school athletes, 1 carnosine patch is fine. And you even got some options. 5 to 7 days per week is okay. For people that do not get an intense level of exercise, 3-4 days a week is probably okay. Although on the study that we did for cognitive function, the participants were using the patch daily. Here is from one of the doctors in our community. Just FYI, I had an eye exam yesterday and have more improvements in my vision. And the 4th time, this is the 4th level of improvement since X39 came out. Congratulations. This is a woman that's been using X39 and has seen steady improvements in her vision. Let's see, here's a comment. Structured water removes fluoride and chlorine energetically. Yeah, I suppose it depends on, that's a whole other subject, isn't it, on structured water. But I am a big fan for sure. When you travel, how do you carry the patches? Will the screening hurt the patches? No, I've been traveling since 2002 for LifeWave when I started the company. And I've taken the patches. I've been in 50 countries the past 17 years and never had an issue with the patches being so-called deactivated. They're based on, they are an energetic product, but they have crystals inside them that reflect light. And so those organic crystals are not going to be damaged by X-rays. We haven't found that to be the case. Okay. Does the Carnosine Patch assist with eye issues? Yes, absolutely. As a matter of fact, one thing that you would see in that this article that I put up, I believe it's in there, is that Carnosine drops have been used to help treat different medical conditions associated with the eyes. So yes, Carnosine is a valuable antioxidant and nutrient when it comes to the health of the eyes. Hi, David. I have not yet reported, but my night vision has much improved with X39 over the last 3 to 4 months. Congratulations. It's interesting. Night vision is often associated with levels of vitamin A and beta carotene, but there are, of course, other things that go on there as well. And X39 definitely upregulates antioxidant production. So that might not be a surprising outcome, but of course we haven't put that through a clinical study, so great that you are having those results. Okay, so we are past the bottom of the hour. I want to thank you all for your time and for being here. Hope you found this enjoyable, and look forward to seeing you all next month on our next product training webinar. In the meantime, if you have any other questions, please contact customer service. And of course, we save these webinars over to our YouTube channel, and we have a ton of webinars there on all of our products. So go check those out. And also, please feel free to contact your sponsor and leaders in your organization, as I know that they'll be happy to help you out. All right. Thanks, everyone. Have a wonderful evening.